The year is 1940. Nazi Germany has had insurmountable success. On May the 10th, an army of 1.5 million German troops enters Belgium with the intent of taking Paris. The German army has adopted a strategy known as the Blitzkrieg, which translates to lightning war. This strategy involves swift mobilization of tanks and armored vehicles accompanied by aerial support to quickly gain territory. During this adrenaline-filled timeframe, soldiers were subject to extreme fatigue, hunger, and trauma. This fatigue and trauma was so severe in some cases that it led to shell shock, or PTSD. In fact, this became so much of a problem, it would negatively impact a soldier's performance, sometimes to the point of death purely due to handling errors. If soldiers who abandoned their post because of shell shock were found out, they would be ridiculed for being cowardly. Generals desperately needed solutions for this issue, and they found it in the form of a pill. This pill, dubbed PrEP pills by German soldiers, contained methamphetamine, a more than common stimulant at the time. Over the course of the war, 35 million tablets under the brand name Pervitin were distributed to German soldiers, enough to give each soldier up to 3 tablets. However, as the whole world would come to find out, the drug was destined to be misused by the German forces. Pervitin was so effective at keeping soldiers awake and alert that it was common for addictions to form. Despite this, thousands of first-hand accounts from German soldiers credited the drug with saving their lives. In fact, it was so effective at its job that in some cases, like the event that led to the invasion of Paris, it can be directly linked to the swift success of the Blitzkrieg strategy. However, this isn't to say that Pervitin was the only factor of success to the German Blitzkrieg, as the sheer amount of soldiers and equipment also. Back in Belgium, Germany's decisive victory in Brussels allowed their forces to pass through the Ardennes. As such, a German victory was inevitable. They had planned to push their army in Brussels all the way to the coast, while their forces in the Ardennes would split. One army would push for Calais to surround the Allied forces, while another would split off and push for Paris. The taking of Belgium was nearly complete, and it had left Paris practically undefended. The use of Pervitin had aided this victory, but the extent to which it was used is widely unknown outside of a few first-hand accounts. Despite this, we know it was used by a majority of soldiers, and was even abused by some, leading to addictions post-war. The extent to which Pervitin was used by German soldiers will never truly be known. Despite this, we know that its effects would have complemented the Blitzkrieg strategy perfectly. The swift march of 1.5 million German soldiers through Belgium, whether aided by Pervitin or not, ultimately is what allowed the Germans to take Paris. As for the 770,000 Allied troops in Belgium at the time of the invasion, 30,000 were killed, 330,000 escaped to Britain, 40,000 were captured, and the rest retreated to France. Another prevalent use of Pervitin was among German pilots. And although scarce, the events of Dunkirk saw several bombing runs by German planes that sank ships with escaping soldiers. Coincidentally, the use of Pervitin was discovered on a downed German pilot around this time, and this discovery could have happened at Dunkirk, although the original documents were lost. On top of this, although not immediately obvious, Dunkirk was a huge Allied success, as 330,000 lives were saved. The same, however, cannot be said about the invasion of France. 10 days after the Dunkirk evacuation, on June 14th, 1940, Paris fell to German forces. After all, the British forces were encircled and forced to evacuate at Dunkirk. It left the rest of France very undefended and unorganized. The majority of the French troops left behind had either been captured or surrendered to the Germans. With the fall of Paris, it solidified German dominance over mainland Europe.